Hey, welcome back. This is Dim. Today, I truly feel so honored to be able to show you one of the most powerful techniques that you can do every day that will fundamentally, it can change the course of your life. And I can tell you that this is a technique that is a foundational bedrock of all my coaching. If you come to any of my coaching programs, I talk about these. And not only that, if you look at anyone who's done my coaching programs, they will readily attest to the power of this technique. This technique is affirmations. And here's the thing with affirmations, because it is such a powerful technique, it has been taught by a lot of people in a very ineffective way. A lot of people do not know what they're talking about, and they teach it because it is just another technique. And as a result, it's a very diluted technique. A lot of people don't really recognize or understand the potency of it. And so if you've come across affirmations before, you may think it is some BS, for want of a better way to put it. And what I'm going to do in this video is teach you how affirmations actually work. Number two, how to use them specifically, technically. I'm going to give you the technical instruction so that every morning you can use them. And then if you would like, at the end of the video, I've got a special offer just for you where while I will teach you how to make your own affirmations, to help you get started, I've also created a tape of my own affirmations, which I give to all my clients. And at the end of this video, if you're interested, I'm very happy to give you that as a free resource to help you get started. So without further ado, let me give you an understanding of why affirmations are so amazing. So I'll just start with the definition of affirmations if you don't really know. Affirmations, in the simplest way to put it, is something that you tell yourself every day, which helps you get into the right mind frame for you to tackle the challenges of the day. So affirmations is something that you tell yourself every day as a way to basically prime your brain. And that leads me to the first point, the actual underlying concept behind affirmations. Now, I used the word before, it's priming. There's an amazing book called Thinking Fast and Slow. And in that book by Daniel Kahneman, he talks a lot about priming. But I'm going to just give you one of these examples of priming and what priming means. Priming basically means the ability to nudge your brain, the ability to slowly kind of influence what you perceive. You may have seen in some of my other videos, I talk about how there's actually 11 million bits of information that come into you per second at any one time, and your brain can only process about 50 bits per second. So the 11 million bits that come into you through your five senses, they are going to get filtered by various aspects. One being what you choose to focus on. Another is your values, your sense of identity, your sense of the world, your past experiences, your beliefs. There's a set of filters which filter out these 11 million bits of information. And through those filters, what you receive on the other side is basically your internal representation, your view of the world, your perspective on the world, your version of reality. The best way to understand this is if you think about when you go to a concert or you go to a party, and let's say you go with your best friend, you literally can be sitting with your best friend through the entire event. But at the end after the event, you and your best friend will recall different things about the event. And what that will illustrate is that you and your best friend, even though you guys sat together at the event and observed it, you still picked up different things about the event because your focus was focusing on different things, and that's based on these internal filters. And what priming is your ability to influence these internal filters. Now, why would you want to do that? Because, for example, let's say you're looking for gold, but your internal filters are used to looking for blue. If I was to prime you right now to look around the room and look for blue, I can guarantee you, if you were to look for blue, you'd start to see blue everywhere. But then when I asked you to close your eyes and say, what did you see that was gold? Or brown, you'd struggle to tell me. But then if you open your eyes this time and look for gold and brown, suddenly you see them plenty. And as you can see, if your goal is to find more gold in your world, It's not going to help you if you're focusing on blue. And that's why we use this technique of priming our brains to help us focus on what's important for us to focus on, for us to move forward in the world. So that's the why. Now, in terms of, I'll give you an incredible example of priming. There's so many. In the book, Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman lists like heaps of examples, but I'll give you one. I'll give you two. So here's one. There's an experiment. They go up to 200 people. To 100 of those people, they hand them a cup of hot coffee and they say, could you hold this for a sec? And they just need to tie their shoes or something. So for 100 people, they're holding a cup of hot coffee in their hands for about 15 seconds while the person who handed it to them is just tying their shoes or something. And then the person who finishes tying their shoes, they say thank you, they take the coffee back, and off they go on their way. So for 100 of those people, they are approached by hot coffee. And the other 100, they're approached with iced coffee. And so 100 of these people have held hot coffee in their hands for 15 seconds. The other 100 have held iced coffee in their hand for 15 seconds. Now, 40 minutes later, someone else who's conducting the experiment will go up to those 200 people, right? And they'll say, hey, here's $20. Could you please fill out this survey for me? This survey is basically a story, and then there's a few questions below the passage which ask about the character in the story. So they're handing out these $20 notes, and then the people say, yep, I'll do it. Basically, they read through the story and then they answer questions but beneath the story about the character in this story. Get this. Of the 100 people that held the hot coffee, 40 minutes later, 80 of them said that the character in the story that they read 40 minutes later, they said that the character in the story is warm and friendly. Of the 100 people that held the iced coffee, 81 of them to be exact, said the character in the story was cold and mean. And the only difference was that half of them held hot coffee and half of them held iced coffee. And so I hope you can see by that example, just by you, like just something as menial as holding a hot coffee for 15 seconds, it primed their brain to emotionally feel about a character in a story 40 minutes later, interpret it differently, interpret them as warm and friendly as opposed to cold and mean by holding iced coffee. That is the effect of priming. Another little effect of priming, for example, is if I was to say to you, is the height of the tallest redwood tree above or below 1,200 feet? And then you would say, above or below. And then if I was to ask you, well, what's the height? The second question, what's the height? You might say, oh, it's 800 feet, or it's 1,300 feet. Effectively, you dance around the number that I kind of primed you with, which is 1,200 feet. But if I was to say to you, is the height of the highest redwood tree above or below 500 feet? And then I was to ask you, well, what do you think the height is? Then your answers would fluctuate around the 400, 600 mark. And FYI, the height of the highest redwood tree is actually like 360 feet, 380, I think it is. And by me priming you and telling you 1,200, it kind of skews your thinking to think, oh, it must be in that range. So these little things can affect how we perceive the world. So why we use a technique like affirmations is because at the end of the day, we're already getting affirmed. And the question is, do you want to affirm yourself? Do you want to prime yourself unconsciously and leave it up to random things that happen in your environment? Or do you want to prime yourself consciously by taking control of what you can control? Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, when you and I walk out into the street and go to work, there's gonna be all these like advertising and things happening, all these random things which are priming you. Like they talk about, with advertising, a lot of advertising is trying to make you feel not good enough, so that you will be going, oh, like I would look sexier if I had those sunnies, or sexier if I had those clothes, or I would be cooler if I went to this club, or if I would be a better boyfriend if I took my girlfriend on this date. That you're seeing through all this like Instagram, social media advertising from whatever. These things are making you feel a certain way about yourself, whether you like it or not. They're making you judge where you are in the world in relation to all of those things. So you can either leave it up to random to prime yourself, or you can proactively take control and go, you know what? I am going to take control of my reality. I'm going to take control of my worldview. I'm going to prime myself with good messages that are going to help me be the best version of me to get the best results I can. And I can tell you this one technique, not only for myself, like for my clients, has yielded insane results. Like, for example, I'll give you a true story. When I first discovered all this stuff, by the way, I thought it was BS, like 100%. Like I don't know, I'm really skeptical. I'm going to be honest. Like, even though I'm a personal development coach, like I've been so skeptical with every single thing that I've learned. Whatever, that's just my personality. I'm just careful about what I trust. So, when I first learned this one, I actually I had started a job, and at the time my boss didn't like me because she thought I was underperforming. And then the CFO, the chief financial officer, who was the one above her, definitely did not like me, because she was like, oh, he's not doing a good job. So where I first started to use affirmations was I would tell myself in the morning, I'm doing an amazing job. My boss is going to tell me how happy she is that she hired me. We're creating incredible results. I'm seeing this project this project is coming together. It's all coming together amazing. And I'm taking us back 6 or 7 years at this, about this memory. But basically I had developed these affirmations to tell myself the job's going amazing, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I feel like it was only 2 weeks later after me starting to say this, because I'm like, let me just try this affirmations thing. It was about 2 weeks later that my boss, I was in her office, and she's like, you did a really good job with blah, 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 blah. And I think you're doing amazing, and I'm so glad we hired you, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, this is not, this cannot be real. This is a freaking fluke if I've ever seen one in my entire life. That is a massive fluke. It's got nothing to do. I didn't believe it with the affirmations. And then, so I'm like, all right, let me really test it. The CFO, the chief financial officer, hates me, right? So let's see if these things help with that. Same thing. Every morning I would do the affirmations, and I would be telling myself, and I would be visualizing, and I'd be seeing her, recognizing me in front of everyone, and on how great a job we did. And I'm like, I'm incredible project manager. I'm this project is an incredible success. It's one that people are going to model off. Everyone is so happy with what we've done, and the standard of our entire organization is lifting, and everyone is so proud of what we've achieved. And I basically was just telling myself and calling forward the reality that I wanted to create. And I believe, if you have a wholesome intention behind it, and you're grounded, and you're listening, and you're attentive, it's an incredible technique. And basically I think it was a month later, and I was in a meeting with the chief financial officer and all of the directors of finance, really senior people. She manages $20 billion. So it's of New South. So she's the chief financial officer of New South Wales Health at the time. So $20 billion is the biggest budget that everyone has. like not just in the state, I'm pretty sure at the country level, it's a huge budget. So this is like a really senior person. And she just went on a 2-minute rant in that meeting saying how much of a good job we did pulling everything together, creating a structure, developing this, delivering this program of work. She went on this rant, and I was like dumbstruck. I'm like, what is going on? And afterwards, everyone was like, dude, she never does that for anyone. And she just gave you props for like freaking 2 minutes. And I was like, I still didn't believe in affirmations. After all of this, I still was skeptical. And I'm like, all right, what about the CFO, Chief Financial Officer of the country? Like, he's also around, and like he doesn't interact so much with what we do. I don't have that close a relationship with him. He's obviously in like super senior dude, Australia wide. What if blah blah blah? I started doing the same technique, the affirmations. I'm visualizing it. Like one of the things I'm going to show you when you're doing the affirmations is I'm going to encourage you also to visualize it and emotionalize it. I'm going to get to that in a sec. So I do the same thing with him, blah, 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 blah. And it was the week of Christmas. I think it would have been the 22nd of December, because it was like that week where Christmas was going to start and we were all going to go on leave. His first name is John. He's retired now, actually. So I saw him near the microwaves in the kitchen. And I've been doing these affirmations and stuff at this point, like just to really see if the stuff works. And if that wasn't evidence enough. Anyway, I see him and I just said to him, hey, John, I just want you to know, like, I know I haven't worked with you this much this year, but yeah, I look forward to maybe working with you more next year. And he goes, oh, hey, no, I've been watching. I know who you are. You've been adding a lot of value. I've been watching. Don't worry about it. Next year we'll work closely together. And we did, by the way. And it was nuts. It was so nuts, because it was like someone that I didn't know what they thought of me, but honestly at that point I was developing a good reputation, but at the same time he still felt like an intimidating person. And I'm happy to say that those affirmations led me to saying something to him, whereas maybe I wouldn't have without the affirmations. But either way, it opened a conversation where he said that he was noticing me, and then it led to us working together. So, with all that being said, I hope you can see the value of doing these things, because what you're doing is you're priming your brain. And I think what it does cause you to do, I believe that there's some metaphysical thing which is beyond what we understand. And I think that we would be fools to think that what we know now is the entirety of what we understand about the universe. I think that is foolish. That's why I do think there is, at some level, there is some kind of metaphysical quantum entanglement thing going on, which is helping. But what I can tell you does also happen. When you are doing affirmations, you're effectively influencing the way you think. And when you influence the way you think and change the way you think and think differently, it leads to different actions. And different actions lead to different results. So even if you don't want to believe in any of the metaphysical stuff, isn't it logical to think that if you think differently, you're going to act differently, and then you're going to get different results? And then if you get different results, you slowly start to change the trajectory of your life? That is literally, like, what if these different results lead you to getting like a different job? Like, for example, me leaving New South Wales Health because I freaking manifested a job at PwC, which at the time I thought was like the absolute dream job. That's a life-changing thing that happened to me, because once you have a brand like that on your resume, you never don't have that brand. You know, it automatically like upped my standard in the world and my market, whatever, like where you just find that my market value. So that's a real thing that happened in real life. That was because of these affirmations. So with all that being said, I hope I've got you motivated to do them. Now, here's how you actually do them. Remember I talked to you about priming. I was teaching you about priming, and what I was saying was that with priming, anything primes you in the morning. So you either take ownership of that and take control and do it consciously, or you just leave random things to prime you, right? So why I went into all that story was to say, if you're gonna prime yourself, do it in the morning. Do it first thing. Don't leave it up to random for other things to prime you. Take control of your morning. Guess what? There's two frames that you can live in this world. You can either be a creator or you can be a reactor. Most people, you can be a producer or you can be a consumer. Most people in this world are freaking consumers and they are reactors. They're just reacting to life. And they're consuming what other people create. By the way, who do you think has the most money? Do you think it's people that react to things all the time and people that consume other people's stuff? Or do you think it's the people who are creating things? It's not all about money, by the way, but even as from a fulfillment perspective, like, I don't know how fulfilled you're going to be if you're reacting to life all the time and you're consuming other people's stuff all the time instead of becoming the sun. And creating your own direction and creating your own value and giving your own value. Spending time priming in a good morning routine, as part of a good morning routine, is what helps you spend more and more time in creation, which leads to more and more of your life being created in the way you wish it to be created. Otherwise, if you are just reacting to what your boss wants or other people want, you're just going to have a life which is created from the random agendas of the people around you. And that's why you want to spend as much time as creation as possible in creation. And you want to do that in the morning before anything else primes you. So here's what you do. From a technique level, think about your goals. Think about what you're trying to achieve. Maybe your work goals, your financial goals, your relationship goals. I'm not really sure what else there could be. Side project goals, I guess. Fitness goals, health goals. Think about those different goals. And for example, I'm just going to use a fitness example, otherwise we're just going to get lost here. But from a fitness perspective, let's say that you want to have a phenomenal body. You want to have like a six-pack and you want to just be fit and you want to take control of your health. Maybe an affirmation you can draft up on a piece of paper is, I am becoming a fit, healthy person. I love eating good food that's good for me. I love the feeling it gives my body when I look after it. I love exercising because it makes me feel good and it makes me feel like I'm taking care of this beautiful body that I have had the good fortune of receiving. Something like that. I just made that up, right? I'm going to be honest, like from a work perspective, I used to suck at doing sales calls. I used to be so scared of it. But I had to do sales calls as part of my job because at the end of the day, if someone's considering a program, I have to learn how to talk to them and say, well, here's the product. Do you want to buy it? You know, I had to learn how to do a sales call. And so I was so intimidated before, but what I started to teach myself, what I started to say to myself is, I love doing sales on the phone. Every sales call is an opportunity to get to know someone and to see if I can help someone out. I feel like every time I get to do a sales call, I feel like I'm getting rewarded for all the hard work that I do, because it is my opportunity to interact with a new person, develop a new relationship, and maybe help someone out to the best of my ability. And I can't remember exactly the affirmation, but it was something like that. That was maybe 4 years ago now. And honestly, I've done that affirmation so much back in the day that now I've kind of become a bottleneck in my business, where I'm at a point where there's a lot of people. It's actually better if I delegate sales calls to someone else. And coaches have talked to me about that. They're like, Dim, you need to stop doing your own sales calls. You got to give that to someone else and just focus on coaching. And for me, I'm like, but I love doing sales. It's my opportunity to get to know someone and to help and, meet someone and hear their story and blah, 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 blah. And so it's like, that's how much I've told myself that it's really become something I really believe in, part of my personality. And that's an example of how just malleable your personality is. Because the thing is, you want to turn into the version of you that's capable of achieving the goals that you want to achieve. If you're someone who doesn't value health, who doesn't value good food, who doesn't value exercise, what chance do you have of having a good body? You need to become the version of you that is capable of achieving that body, of achieving that physique, of achieving that level of health. And that version of you loves good food, loves giving your body good food, because you've got a great self-worth and your body deserves to have good food in it. Your body deserves to sing, and it sings when it gets to exercise, when it gets to eat great food, when it gets to sleep well, when it gets to drink a lot of water. Your body deserves to sing, and that's an incredible affirmation. My body deserves to sing. And so I love giving it good food. I love looking after it. I love keeping my stress down. I love meditating. I love taking care of myself because I love myself. And my body deserves to sing because my body was a gift from God. And if I can't look after my own body, how can I look after anyone else? These are all affirmations, right? And now that we've covered like what affirmations can be, in terms of how you do them, there's a couple of techniques. For me, on my phone, it's the desktop background. So what I do is when I'm on the way to work, I put on my earphones, I listen to some nice music, and I say the affirmations out aloud. I'm sitting on a ferry, so it's a bit different from a train. I can say them out aloud. But sometimes it's going to be hard to say them out aloud because it's busy. And so honestly, when I get to work, before I go into the building, I sit outside somewhere to myself and I look at them and I read them out aloud. Now, another technique that you can use is read them out aloud, but also record them in audio form and listen to them. But honestly, if you're going to do something as ruthlessly effective as this, just do it properly. Here's why I'm saying read them out aloud. Because if you're going to do this 5 days a week or 7 days a week, here's the thing. After a while, you're going to get used to it and you're just going to go through the motions. It's just inevitable. And part of going through the motions is you'll start to skim read them instead of like really taking them in. And this leads me to my next technical point about doing good affirmations. When you're reading them, Tony Robbins says this beautifully. There's affirmations and there's incantations. And you don't want to do affirmations, you want to do incantations. And incantations are where you put your body into it, your emotions into it. You really feel it. You really feel it. And so when you're saying it, it's like you're calling forward that reality into your life. So what you're saying is you're looking at the affirmation and you're saying, I am, like whatever it is for you, right? But maybe it's like, money flows to me daily and I'm grateful for all that I receive. I take care of my money. I appreciate my money. I look after my money. And so it grows like a field grows under the sun. I love money and money loves me. Another one can be, my mind has the technical precision of Bruce Wayne. I feel so grateful for the incredible intelligence that God has granted me, and I use it fully to be a wonderful light for this world. And when I'm saying it, I'm really feeling it. I'm really feeling it. So when you're doing it, and I'm just trying to think of an affirmation for you, let's say it's a health one, you really want to feel it in your body. You want to say it. That's why you say it out aloud. So you're not just going through the motions, but you're really embodying it. One of mine is like 4 wonderful clients make their way to me every month. And I love giving them the incredible service that they deserve. I know that I am destined to be one of Australia's best life coaches. And I know that my impact is reaching an ever greater number of people over time. And as I'm saying it, I'm really feeling it. I'm visualizing it. I'm seeing it happen. That's the thing. And that's why you want to say it. You want to do it first thing in the morning and you want to say it out loud. Now, those are the main points, actually. That's why you want to do it in the morning. That's how they work. And that's why you want to say them out loud. And that's why you want to emotionalize them. So the last thing I'll say in this video is, while I definitely encourage you to write your own, why don't I give you two free tools, as a thanks for watching this video. The first one is, at the bottom of this video, you will see a link to a 3-minute quiz that I have. That 3-minute quiz is just a way to clock yourself, gauge yourself against how you're performing against your actual potential. It breaks it down into 4 different areas, and the benefit of that is you can just have like a good look at yourself and go, cool, well, I can improve. And by the way, in this quiz, but depending on your results, I provide like tailored advice for you on whatever stage you're at in the journey. So if you do this quiz and you realize, you know what, I actually could do better on my confidence. Actually, I could actually work better on that. Or you know what, I could actually work better on my sense of direction, or whatever that is for you, confidence, sense of direction. Maybe it's old emotional stuff to let go of, having a positive mindset, not having negative self-talk. Whatever it is for you, this tool helps you identify where you can improve, and it gives you advice on how to improve. And what you can do is use that as a way for you to go, cool, I'm going to make affirmations in these areas. And it'll help you increase your game in those areas. Now, the other thing I'm going to do as another link that I'm going to leave for you below is a link to an affirmations tape that I have created. It's not going to be as good as the one that you create for yourself, but it's a nice way for you to start the morning and prime your day. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.